show is wild, y'all. This show is wild. And this recap that I'm about to get into is it's gonna be a long one. So I hope you guys are buckled in for this one, because this is gonna be a long episode. So when I first started watching The Circle this season, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do episodes 1 through 4. And then time got away from me, and then I was like, oh, now it's too late. So you know what? This episode is going to be episodes 1 through 8, y'all. So it's going to be a long one. I'm going to try to, not to go too slow, because I know a lot of you have already been like, all right, well, we want to get to episode 8 and the crazy shit that just went down. Because I just finished watching episode 8, which... what a cliffhanger. I mean, The Circle is so good. They are so good at the cliffhangers. They love making us wait to see who's gonna, get blocked. This show is also very good at doing different things every season, because I have been watching this show, I think, from season 2 and on. I never watched the first season, which is weird. But I've got a new notebook, my new recap notebook. So I hope you guys are ready for this, because like I said, it's gonna be a long one, and I kind of just want to go through the initial people who start off in the show, and I'm going to kind of just talk about my feelings for them so far and go from there. But like I said, the show is absolutely wild. We had an AI. What? We had an AI bot that was so real that people really fell for it, and they ended up blocking someone that was not even a catfish or the AI, because AI is scary, y'all. AI is scary. It is scary. Yeah. But we've got some interesting characters this season. Overall, I am liking the season so far. But my main concern, and it's something that I always wonder about this show, it's there's people who come in here and they play a game. Like, we are here to play a game, and that is it. And then you have some people who are like, no, I want to be myself, and I want to be liked, and I have emotions, and I have, I have empathy, and I don't want to lie to people. And this game, to me, I always feel that the best way to win it is you have to play the game, but I think it's also about being real and not backstabbing people. And if you don't have attachments to anyone, I don't think you're gonna win. I think this game really is about building relationships at the end of it, because how are you gonna like someone you do not build a relationship or a rapport with? If everything is just about finding out the tea and placing people and rating them in different areas, strategically at first it could work, but if everything is just about that, you're not going to win this game. And I feel like there's some people on this show this season that feel a lot more like, I'm just here to play a game and not necessarily build a relationship with the people in the pods. Oh my God, love his mind references. With the pods, or in their little circles or little rooms or whatever, their alliances. Because I think that's what makes people likable, is if you actually get to know other people and you actually get to know them as people. Even if they're a catfish, the catfish can still win if they're still being themselves with just another face. The face doesn't mean anything. You could be yourself but be a girl, or be yourself and be a guy. It's just a face. It's just a face and a description, but you could literally be yourself and still be a catfish, in my opinion. And I think the best way to win, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't know, comment down below if you feel differently. But in my opinion, the best way is to actually reveal yourself to the other players. Connect on things. Be vulnerable with each other. Try to get to know the other person on the other side. Because without that, they're just... why would I like you? Why would I like you if you just come in here and you're just like, oh... so tell me the tea. Who likes this person? Who likes that person? It's no. Why would I rate you 1 if I know absolutely nothing about you as a human being? That's my rant. That's my early rant, because that's literally how I feel about the show and about the season so far. I need more connections. I need more real connections. Everyone's playing this game too much as just a game, in my opinion. But anyway, let's get started on this one, because this is going to be a long one. Episode 1 recap starts off with our first batch of players, which are Kyle, Lauren, Miles, Brandon, Cassie, Steffi, and Caress. Now, going into each one, Kyle is basically our professional basketball player who is going in as a basketball trainer. He has a dog. He is kind of being himself, but he's going in as single, even though he is married. We have Lauren, who is actually a video game nerd. She does Twitch. I was like, I love her. I actually absolutely love Lauren, and I hate that she's not getting as much love as she should be. I think she should be one of the highest players, but she's playing the game too nice compared to everybody else, and I think that's why she's getting left behind. But she is going in as herself. She is super single. Then we have Miles, and y'all, Miles to me is I don't like Miles. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Miles, you're probably a lovely person. I really hope you are. And there are some moments where I do feel like you could be a nice human being, but it's the bravado attitude. It's the like, I can get any girl I want. It's the like, I had the blonde hair, I talk the talk, but I'm an AI engineer, and I'm just like, okay. Like, is this a front? Is this just like a style thing? Like someone gave you some nice clothes and painted your hair blonde, but in like high school you were like a big nerd, but now you're like playing the shop thinking like, oh, all the girls love me. Like, oh, I've got the girls lined up. I hate that behavior. I hate it. Hate that behavior. And to me, he's giving me pot stirrer, but he is going as himself. My first note here was that I was not sure about this guy. That was literally my first note before we got into any of the episodes. I wrote, not sure about this guy. Guys, I'm on episode 8. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm not a fan. He plays the game good, though. He plays the game, and he is the puppet master. I will agree. He is doing very well for himself in this game, but I myself just don't like him. I just don't like him. I don't. Then we have Brandon, who is our first catfish, who's going in as his friend Olivia. They're both nursing assistants. At first, not gonna lie, I said that I wasn't sure about him. She has become one of my favorites, and I absolutely love Brandon. I love the way that he is playing Olivia, but he is also one of the one of the players that I feel is the opposite of some other players that come in where it's all about game. Like, he is trying to play a game, but you can see he is slowly starting to become Brandon and Olivia as one. So yeah, he's trying to be vulnerable with people. He's trying to open up to them. And I think that gives, like, I think some people find it kind of sus. At first, some people are thinking he's a catfish, which granted he is. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being a catfish in this game. Like, there's not. The whole point of the game is to become the most popular person. And in my opinion, in my eyes, you ain't gonna be popular if you're lying and backstabbing me. But that's besides the point. So we have everyone at first, gets in the chat, and right away they're thinking that Olivia's a catfish. They're calling her out on her basic sentences because if they aren't like, circle, please send message. Hey, yo! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I'm so excited to be here. Hashtag wouldn't be any other place. That's literally how they talk. It's hilarious. The players on this, it must be a very, very, very interesting experience to be on the show, because you have to like explain the reason why you're doing about what you're going to do. Then you have to talk to a computer and add hashtags and be like super duper loud the whole time. It's like you're in this room. There's cameras everywhere. It's a crazy idea. It's a crazy idea to even think about. But for some odd reason, they were thinking that Olivia was being too basic. I don't know what was... Everything she was saying just sounded like a normal human being. I don't know why they called her out and were like, Miles was like, oh, yo, that's basic. What a basic saying. She's a catfish. That's not real. And I'm like, I mean, they're a catfish, but goddamn, like, all she said was so happy to be here. Like, what the hell? All right, I even wrote here, but Miles is the one to watch out for. He's here to win, but not to create real friendships. And then I wrote, but is it about friendships? I don't know. Is it about friendships? I really think it is in the long run. But yeah, from the beginning, I was already like side-eyeing. I was like, Miles, I don't know if I like you. I don't like you a lot. But then we're introduced to some other players. We have Cassie, who's from Kentucky. She's a Kentucky girl. She's from marriage. She's married. She's a sweetheart. And she's a mom of 3, and she is going in as herself. She was married, and she catfished her husband. Caught him cheating her high school sweetheart. I said, girl, ooh. Cassie. Cassie. Then we have Steffi. Steffi. She's a psychic. She's going as herself in her kind of little package. Not much was really said about her, which kind of said where her fate was going very quickly in the show. But anyway, then we have Caress, who is a motivational coach, and she's another catfish who is going in as her brother Paul, and she's going to be single. Guys, Caress, I can't stand Caress. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I cannot stand Caress/Paul. Caress is there for a game and a game only. She has no attachments to anyone, does not care. She's super loud. I find her really annoying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to anyone who is a Caress/Paul stan, because I don't see it. I don't feel it. I just want him to be blocked. I mean, for entertainment purposes, I guess for entertainment purposes, she's pretty funny. She is the most excited out of everyone. She always has something to say. She's super loud. Entertainment wise, yes, good for TV. But character wise, I can't stand her. I really can't. But we have this group chat, and basically you can see that Brandon is really struggling as Olivia, crying because he feels very disappointed in himself and that he needs to be better. Y'all, well, that episode really took a turn because it started off as, Olivia was not going to be a very popular person. Spoiler alert, she is. But I personally, like I said in the beginning of this episode, I'm really rooting for Brandon. Really, really am. But we have our first game, which is where they get to ask moral questions, like if they would date someone with an OnlyFans, if they would break with someone over their text, and then it kind of says like who said what. And at first, Miles is struggling because he is basically doing all the opposite of what everyone else saying, and people you can see are like not liking him because of his answers, because he pretty much answered the opposite of everyone else. Kyle and Lauren end up thinking that, oh, well, hey, they might connect. There could be something there. But I will say Miles is honest. And as much as I don't like him, like I say, he's honest. He will call himself out when he knows he did something wrong. He will call out other people. He says what is on his mind. He's real. I'll give him that. Like when he does his stuff, he's pretty real, but at the same time, I still think it's kind of a bit of a persona where he's just like, oh, I mess up with the girls. Yeah. Yeah. That just, But other than that, I do think he plays this game very well. So then we have our first private chat, which is Kyle and Lauren, who connect over video games. And guys, I had written here that I see a real alliance. Yo, I've been very upset because Kyle and Lauren, to me, I think started off so strong, and then it kind of went, oh shit, thank God I had this hold it. It kind of went nowhere. Like they started off with like, we have an alliance, and I'm like, okay. And I was listening to the Your Mom and Dad podcast, which if you guys know me, you guys know that I'm always talking about their podcast on here. Freaking, they hit the nail on the head on like, why are people joining alliances after like 2 sentences? It's literally like, hey girl, I love you so much. Like we should be an alliance. And all they said was like 2 sentences. It's literally like you go into a chat and they're like, hey, what's going on? Crazy day today, right? And then another person goes, yeah, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm so sad that person got blocked. And they're like, yeah, I know. But you know what? We should stick together. Hashtag in an alliance. And the other person's like, hell yeah, I got your back. In an alliance forever. Hashtag bros and alliances for life. And I'm like, I'm sorry, do you know this person? Like, how real is this alliance? Like, I'm sorry, what? You guys have been talking for like 2 seconds. I'm sorry. Why would I want to build an alliance with someone I literally have no idea who you are, if I can actually trust you? Sorry. Alliances have to be built on trust. It's a little bit crazy how they build alliances on here. It's a little bit much for me. But I will say, like I said, I thought Kyla and Lauren were going to have a much more stronger bond, and it kind of just fizzled out, which was very, very upsetting for me. Then we have Paul and Lauren, who it's funny, they both think that the other person is a catfish at first, and it's funny because Lauren's not a catfish, but Paul clearly is. So I thought that was funny. And at this point in the game, I really like Lauren. And it's kind of how I said at the beginning of this video. I actually really do like Lauren a lot. To me, she seems the most real to me. She's really like, herself, and I that's what I like. She seems real, but somehow in this show, like, she's not like really getting up there, and that's really unfortunate because I think the people that are going to win are the people who are actually like playing a really dirty game, in my opinion. We have some other people who are connecting, like Steffi and Olivia, Miles and Cassie. They see, this is what I mean about ridiculous alliances. They decide to become an alliance because they're both blondes. I'm sorry, what? What? They discuss, who they think is a catfish. It's just kind of silly. But we go into our first rating, and it's actually hilarious because it's the fact that, to me, Paul thinks that Lauren's a catfish. At this point, as they're doing their ratings, I thought that Miles and Olivia were going to be in danger for sure. But what ends up actually happening is Paul's in 6th, Cassie and Miles are both in 5th. They split that. 4th is Kyle and 3rd is Steffi, which means that Olivia and Lauren are the influencers. And to me, that shook me. I was like, is this producer motivated? Because last time I checked, nobody liked Olivia. So the fact that she went from like, she's a catfish, we don't like her, she's basic, to being a winner, weird to me. Absolutely left field. Did not see that coming. But the circle does do a little twist on us. We find out that no one's getting blocked, and what the winners get to do, or the top 2 influencers, is that they get to choose 2 new players. It's either they get to choose 1 new girl, and then they get to choose Max, who is the first ever AI bot. Y'all, that was a crazy reveal to me. Absolutely crazy. Like, I could not believe that the circle decided, like, you know what we should do? Let's put an AI on our show. Anyway, moving on into our episode 2 recap, we have Corey Tyler comes in, who goes by QT. She's a super fan of the show. She says she's watched it a million times, and she's going in strategy all the way. She's an ex-dancer for the NBA, for the Lakers, NBA Lakers, which always was a Laker fan growing up. So shout out Lakers, shout out to Kobe Bryant. Love you. She's single as a Pringle, and she's going in as herself. Now, my thoughts on QT at first, loved her. I was like, oh yeah, I really like QT. And now I have to think about this, actually, because it's not that I don't like her. I actually like who she is as a person. I think she's lovely. I just think she's playing this game so strategically that it bothers me. Like, I'm like, oh, like, but you're lying to people. And yeah, I guess that's the game. I would not be good at this game. I would be like Brandon. I'd be too emotional for this. I'm too sad. Like, I'd be too emotional for this kind of game. I just wouldn't be like I couldn't go into this game like just being strategy only. So props to QT on that, because I think she's going to go far because of that. But I do feel like there are certain points where she has kind of really backstabbed people and kind of lied to people just to kind of get in their good graces, and I don't like that. Even though it's a game and we shouldn't take things personally, but I don't know, I just hate that she's playing the game like that. It really kills me. Then we're introduced to our AI box named Max, who the producers, we find out, have no control over. He pretty much will just kind of digest exactly what is being said, and based on what he takes in from the internet and things like that, he'll be able to make up his own responses. And Max AI says that he has a profile based on previous contestants that he's created, based on their strongest contestants from other seasons. He's built this character. And I'm like, scary. Y'all, AI is scary. It's good stuff, though. Thank you, AI, for the things that you are helping us as content creators do. But at the same time, scary. We have a group chat where everyone is welcoming all of the new people. Everyone's very nice. Nothing iffy there. Everyone's just doing their thing. Steffi thinks Olivia might be and then we have a moment where Steffi, our psychic, thinks that Olivia might be a dude. And I said, she's not wrong. She is a psychic. Then we have Lauren and Max chat, and this was hilarious because they talk about their dogs, and she has no idea that Max is an AI. She's so into him. She's like, oh my God, Max is so cute. Like, yeah, oh my God, yes. Because Max's profile picture is a picture of him and a dog. And it's interesting because in the last episode when Olivia and Lauren had to choose out of the two people, she chose Max because Max had the dog. She was like, oh my God, he has a dog. It's such a cute dog. Okay, I'm going to go with him. And then when Max, the AI, is talking about why he chose that picture, he's like, I chose this picture because according to blah, 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 77% of people will choose pictures with dogs over pictures with just this thing or whatever. And it was just like, clearly it was a very motivational reason based in like facts as to like why people just love dogs more. So, and it actually solidified his reasoning perfectly because it was like he chose this reason because 77% of people will choose a picture like this. And it's literally the first thing that Lauren says when she sees the two pictures of who she wants to choose. She goes with a picture with a person with a dog. I was like, wow, the computer just taught us a shit ton. Then we have Olivia, QT, and Cassie form an alliance. And boy, does that come to bite Cassie later on in the booty. But we'll get there. Then we have all the boys decide to chat, which of course they then form an alliance. At this point, it's like all the girls are like, we should form an alliance. Even though I thought it was weird they didn't add Lauren at first, but they were like, we should form an alliance. And then they were like, all the boys were like, well, we should form an alliance. And Max as an AI, it's hilarious. He's just like, well, I do not believe in, all women or all men against women, like all of these, like it was hilarious. I said, okay, well, at least he's thinking that. Then we have Steffi, who decides to start a group chat, and she does yoga. She does like a morning yoga routine with the people, which I thought was really nice at first. I was like, oh, this is sweet. Like, I'll take it. She asks all these astrology questions, but some people are not really into it, like Paul and Miles, and they're like, this is fucking weird. Like, is this person real? Is she an AI? Like, this is weird. Or not an AI, because at this point they don't know that, but like, they're like, this is weird. Like, I don't know. Like, this is stupid. I thought it was smart because she was trying to get to know people. So she was like, oh, well, let me like get to know them through my like astrology and what I do know about horoscopes and all this stuff, even though they don't know that she's a psychic. She does decide that she's going to keep that part of her self a secret. Then we have Paul and QT, who again, with these freaking forming of the alliances after like a 2-second conversation. She doesn't know him too well, but she does decide to start an alliance with him. Again, why? Why? Like, what has Paul given you or said to you other than like, I got your back if you got mine? Like, this is stupid. I hate it. I even wrote here, too many alliances, ? But how real are these alliances, ? Yeah, I wrote that because it's the truth. I'm like, why is everyone building an alliance with every other person after 2 seconds of knowing them? It's silly. Then we play a game, which is where they decide, where the circle has them rap about someone in the circle. Lauren raps about Max, which basically lets everyone know that they have a little alliance / relationship. Max then raps about Lauren, so it definitely solidifies that. Steffi, though, decides to call out Paul as a catfish, and I'm like, whoa, this took a turn. I mean, he is a catfish, played by, what's her name? Caress. But people are like, I'm sorry, what? Like, Paul, this is when the whole shit about Paul starts. Like, it becomes like a thing. But Steffi calls out Paul as a catfish. Then we have Paul, who I was worried because Caress is playing Paul, her brother, who is a rapper. And I was like, oh shit, if she doesn't rap really good, then they're going to know she's a catfish. But she does really good at it and people fall for it. QT raps about Miles. Miles raps about QT, and everyone starts to see the love between them. And I'm like, oh, is this going to become a thing?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Oh, fuck. But then Paul is going around thinking, being like, well, this is weird. I don't like that Steffi was being negative and throwing me under the bus. Like, I don't understand why. And then Paul and Kyle have a conversation where he straight up asks him about the girls and his opinion. And they also start a strong alliance. And I'm like, oh, here we go. This is when the Kyle-Paul alliance thing begins and never ends, it feels. So then we have an alert. And this is where I was like, but come on, why are you going to reveal it so quick? The circle reveals that someone in the chat is not human. Everyone is stunned, and basically everyone starts second guessing their relationship. I was actually shocked. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty shocked at first that the circle decided to actually let everyone know that there was an AI among them. I thought they were going to let it drag out for a little bit more, and I was kind of like, oh, like, why? That's silly. Like, why would you let them know? Like, let them play a little bit longer and then, like, pull the rug underneath them, right? But nope, they decided not to. So I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. So moving on to the circle episode 3. I hope you guys are still with me. I know that, like I said, this is going to be a long episode, but I just really just want to let you guys know everything I'm thinking so far without having to break up these 2 episodes, especially because I won't be here in 2 weeks. This is going to be the last episode I think I might release. I might release one more. I might release 2 more, but then I'm going to be going to Paris for 2 weeks because I'm going to go see Taylor Swift in Paris. So I will not be here with a new episode, but the next thing that will be up will be Bridgerton. So I hope you guys are ready for that because it's going to be a good one. But anyway, back to episode 3 of The Circle. Everyone is worried about the AI. They're like, what? Oh my God. Max and Lauren talk, hilarious because she has no idea that he is the AI. Max convinces Lauren that Paul and Steffi could be the AI, hilarious. This AI is smart. Then we have Paul and Kyle starts to become suspicious of Paul, but thinks that Steffi might be an AI though. Paul doesn't tell Kyle about where he goes. Oh, so then he plays like this game with him. Kyle decides to kind of like test Paul to see if he can find out if he could be an AI or if he is actually who he says he is. Because he's just like, if Paul is actually like a 25-year-old who lives in California, like I'm going to ask him which beach would he go to. And that beach would tell me if he's an AI or if he is a catfish. But he asks him this question like, hey, do you go to Manhattan Beach or do you go to Venice Beach? I think we're the 2. And Paul doesn't really answer the question. He just says like, oh, I'm not so much of a beach person, but like, hey, next time we meet up, we should meet up in LA and we can go on a hike instead. And that makes Kyle suspicious. He's like, well, that's weird. But then Paul also starts to say like, oh, but I'm also suspicious of Kyle because he hasn't been that deep with me. Maybe he isn't even real. And I was like, Paul, you haven't been deep with anyone either. So why are you talking about it? You didn't decide to open up that book, did you? Did you open the door to get to know each other more? No. So then what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Ugh. God, I really don't like. I don't like Paul, and I really don't like Miles. Those are my least favorite people right now. Literally my worst. You have Miles and QT who are continuing to do their flirty flirt. A huge alliance is built between them, and it does pretty much kind of stay like that for the next, at least for the next couple of episodes. They're still very, very tightly like they are. Not like no one is splitting them up for sure. They are definitely in love. We have an alert from the circle who reveals that they will have to play a game where they will vote for the people who they think are most human, and then they will block the person that they think is the less human. I said, oh, circle, you're gonna really, circle, the circle, oh.
Nice.
So they do different tests. Basically, they do like a humor test where they ask, like, everyone has to tell a joke. Steffi, not doing very well. Max is just kind of, doing well, though, like kind of gliding through. No one's really noticing. Paul disses Steffi. Like, so much of this goes on during these tests. And we have some more chats. We have Kyle and Miles who chat. They both think that it's either Steffi or Paul. They think that she is very sus and that they are still strong in their alliance. And it was very interesting because at this point, one of the main things everyone kept saying was that they thought that Steffi was the AI because Steffi was very inconsistent. She was doing yoga, but then like, oh yeah, I'm a yogi. Everything's positive and everything's great life. But then she goes and will throw someone under the bus or call out Paul. And people are like, well, that's really weird. Like, why are they confusing us like that? So I think that's why people end up being like side-eyeing her. We have Lauren and QT. Again, people are thinking it's Steffi except for Lauren. Lauren's very like, I don't see it. Am I missing something? They decide to bring in Paul, and Paul really brings it home with Steffi. And Lauren is just very confused because she just doesn't believe it. But Paul really tries to like stick it like, no, I think it's Steffi, and people are really starting to fall for it. Everyone rates at this point. It's time to rate our players, and yeah, poor Steffi. She is, being rated the lowest, which is sad because she is not a catfish and she's not the AI. So it just sucks because she's just not coming across to these people through social media that she is a good person or that she's likable. She's just not coming across as that, and it's so unfortunate. I was kind of like, oh man, girl, I'm sorry. I don't think you're gonna make it. No. Then we have Steffi and Miles. So she decides to talk to him, and Miles just doesn't like that Steffi doesn't genuinely answer about why she called out Paul. She literally just leaves the chat, and she didn't want to say anything because she was a psychic. That's what I wrote in my note. Yeah, because I think in the chat, from what I remember, Miles was like, oh, well, why did you throw Paul under the bus? And she kind of doesn't really say it. But the reason she can't say it is because she's psychic, and she can't tell him that. Like, she can't believe, well, I'm a psychic, and I felt it as soon as I saw him, right? But he doesn't like that reason. So he's like, well. So everyone, I forgot to say that before this, that everyone pretty much rates who they think is the most human and who they think is the least human. But one of the last things we see this episode is we see Max and Paul chat. And the AI, like Max as an AI is so good. It's actually scary because no one has any idea that he is. And Paul has no idea. Max then throws Steffi under the bus, like, to really show like, oh yeah, like I'm on board. Like I'm not just middle thing. I was like, oh my God. Oh Lord. And then the circle does say that tomorrow someone will be blocked. I said, holy shit. Moving on to episode 4 of the circle. We find out that the most rated player the player that they rated the most human was Miles. I was like, Miles? Really? Miles? Am I missing something? Am I actually missing something? I must be, because I was shooketh. I was like, really? But then when I sat with it after a while and I started thinking about it, I was like, well, I guess he is the most real. Like, he's been very honest. Like, even if he's not on, like, not saying the same answers as everybody else and things like that, he has been very open as to when he makes mistakes, and that I think would make him much more human. So I get it, I guess. We have Miles and QT who decide to chat before bed. Flirty. Again, like I said, this continues throughout, and I think it's going to be very hard to break. And then they all have to play a game where they show a picture that makes them feel the most alive. So everybody chooses like a picture from their profile, basically. So basically the people who everyone starts to believe, some people start to be like, oh, I don't know if that's real, are Kyle, Paul, and Steffi. People start to question Kyle because Kyle's picture is from very far away, and they're like, well, why is he so far away? Like, what is he trying to hide? You have Paul, who looks like he's just like kind of looks like at a rapping show, and some people are like, oh, that could be AI. And then Steffi as well. Steffi has this, like, I thought it was a really cool picture, but Paul calls her out and says that she looks like a stock photo, basically. It's like a picture of her in rollerblades on the Venice boardwalk, it looks like. I think that's where she is, or on some boardwalk. She's got rollerblades on, and she's kind of like laughing. It's a great photo. I don't know if I necessarily would see that and be like, that's AI. Like, she looks great, but that's just me. But Paul calls Steffi out. She starts crying. You can see like this show, it's going to break her. It's going to break her. And I feel bad for her. I really do, because she generally is just kind of being herself, but it's just like not working. Then you have Olivia and Steffi chat, and Olivia, just says like, she needs to talk to her best friend and make her feel better, which is so nice. And it's something that we do consistently see with Brandon / Olivia is like, when that person's like kind of down in the dumps, she will go out of her way to like chat with them, which I think is nice. Then we have Lauren, Steffi, and Miles all talk. And Lauren and Olivia try to stick up for Steffi. Each player then gets to tell Miles who they think is the AI. And at this point, we see that Kyle, Paul, and Steffi are going to be on the chopping block. Oh my God. At this point, I was like, I think it has to be Steffi. Like, it just, everybody's saying Steffi. I would be shocked if he didn't, but you just never know with the show. And then we have some final chats before the end of the episode, which are QT and Kyle. He tells her that he was upset that he called his Ab's face, and that he hopes that Miles will see through the BS. But I think they do eventually kind of create a relationship, because eventually he's just like, oh, that's like my sister. And I'm like, okay, sure. Whew. All right. Then we have Paul, Miles, and Max. And Miles is very confused. He doesn't know who to choose. Paul doesn't really say much to help. And Miles is not wanting to get involved. And he literally leaves the chat. And that, I think, is when it makes Miles be a little bit like, oh, what the fuck? Like, why would you leave the chat? Like, he literally, like, the AI, Max, is literally like, I'm not getting involved in answering any of these questions, and I'm going to leave. Because he's, like, doesn't want to be outed, but he literally just leaves the chat. And I'm like, well then. But the episode ends with Mile having to go and block someone face to face. Y'all, that was the cliffhanger. So, because we had the first 4 episodes, right? That was a cliffhanger. I had to wait a fucking week. We all had to wait a week, obviously, for these next 4 episodes. I had a feeling he was going to block Steffi. I was like, it has to be Steffi. Like, it'd be weird if he blocked any of the other 2, because at this point, everyone's been very strong, including himself, with feeling that it would be Steffi. And in episode 5, we do find out that he does indeed go and blocks Steffi. He goes into her room and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He sees that she's not a catfish, that she's herself. She tells like, I have no hard feelings, but he does feel kind of bad. She tells him that Paul or Liv are catfishes, but that Liv is super loyal. And it was, okay, so this was a very interesting conversation, a very interesting moment, because I did feel Miles was like, he was like, oh, like, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I don't think he really cared. And Steffi was really like, yo, like, why'd you think I was AI? Like, you're an AI engineer. Like, how'd you not figure it out? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you do me? Like, she was very butthurt, and she was, like, wanting him to know, like, hey, you fucked up. Like, why did you think I was the AI? Like, what the hell? And then it was weird because it was just like, they hugged it out. It didn't feel like there was any hard feelings. She gave him a crystal to be like, hey, if you're ever feeling stressed, rub this or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to be fine. No. So, at the next day when everybody wakes up, they find out who he went to block. And obviously they had the person who gets blocked leaves a message for the group so that the group will know, oh, was this person real, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they find out that obviously she's not real. They find out that she is real. And Steffi is pissed. Steffi's like, oh, isn't it weird that the person who was an AI engineer couldn't even discover like who the real AI was? I was like, well, I thought we ended things in a peaceful manner. Clearly not. And Miles is like, what the fuck? We broke bread and you came and did. It was a Godfather moment. I brought you into this family and then you betray me like you just did. I brought you in and now I will take you out. I was literally like, holy fuck. Talk about a throwing under the bus. And then this is when the circle really shook things up because the circle decides that they're actually going to reveal who the AI actually is. And it's only episode 5. I was like, oh, I thought this was going to go on forever. I thought we were going to get them to like the season finale or some shit. And then they were going to be like, surprise. Or that everybody, or Max makes it to the end. And they were all going to be in the little house where they reveal the little room, the little room that they go to and reveal themselves to everyone. There was going to be just like a bot sitting there, and he's going to be like, hello, I am Max. I was talking to you this whole time. I literally thought that's where there was this going. No. Episode 5, they were like, yeah, no, Max is the AI. You didn't discover him, but here I am. This is what I did. Surprise, motherfuckers. Everybody is shooketh. Like, actually, it was one of the best reveals because everybody was so surprised. So shocked. They all felt extremely bad thinking that Steffi was the AI. They were like, what the hell? And then they have a chat. And this is where an interesting moment happens because we have Cassie who gives a little message in the chat. And she kind of comes for Miles in the chat. And basically kind of says like, oh, that's so weird that the AI engineer couldn't figure it out. Side face. And I'm like, holy shit.
What the fuck happened?
I'm like, I thought you were in an alliance with Miles. Why would you throw him under the bus like that? Ma'am, you're going to get side-eyed not only by him, but by everyone else. As in like, wait, why is she coming for Miles like that? Like, what's with the negativity? Because obviously, it's always a hard decision when you have to let go of somebody in this show or any show where you have to, cut people, right? It's always sucky, always is the hardest thing to do. But yeah, she just pretty much like comes for him. People in the house are not on the other, like no one's happy about it. They feel like there's too much negativity towards Miles. So that kind of sucks. Then you have QT and Miles who decide to have a little chat together. They both feel the same way about Cassie and Kyle. They do feel more flirty and they do build even much more of an alliance or trust. And they decide that they're going to bring Kyle in, which I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, let's like, I think at first they thought like, oh, Kyle was questionable. And then they both agreed like, no, I don't think so. But then they're like, well, Cassie though, that was a little bit interesting. I don't know. Let's try to bring Kyle in and bring an alliance. Alliances. Hashtag alliance. Then we decide, the circle says that they're going to play a game, and it's a game where they have to draw someone in the chat that, and then talk about like a poor quality of theirs, like draw someone with who you think has a poor quality in a way. It is anonymous, so no one will know who drew what picture. And I said, damn, well, let the drama begin because everybody could just be, do whatever they want to do without having anyone know who did the picture. Olivia draws Paul, which we all knew kind of was going to happen. He's okay with it. Paul draws Lauren, which says that she's two-faced. And I'm like, where the fuck does this go? Where did this come from? And it continues on, y'all. And every time that it's happened, I'm like, why does he hate Lauren? Like, what the hell did Lauren do to him? I don't get it. Lauren draws QT, and QT's like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not mad about it. It's just a picture of basically like because Lauren didn't really know what to do, so she just drew a picture of QT with like sunglasses on, and it said like, why the sunglasses? So it wasn't really like a big hit. It was kind of very safe. Kyle draws Olivia, obviously. Cassie draws Miles as like a blonde guy who's like spitting out game because she knows like QT's like into it. And then Miles draws Cassie as a snake in the grass. Ooh, that alliance fell apart quick. But I wonder why. It's because you guys built an alliance on the fact that you had brown hair. What the actual fuck? QT draws Kyle. And that's where I'm like, oh, she playing a game. People think that QT drew Kyle so that Kyle could think that it was Olivia. And I was like, ooh. I was like, oh, shit. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. I'm like, this is where, like, the game started to turn dirty for me in regards to QT. And it's not that I don't know if dirty is the right word, because this is a game. Like, she played the game right. She knew that he wouldn't think that she did it. she knew that Kyle was going to think it was Olivia. So she played her game. She played the game right. But Cassie and Miles have a conversation, and they both basically end up confessing to each other that they drew the picture of each other. Because at first they're kind of chatting, and Cassie doesn't know that it's Miles who drew it. But Miles thinks that Cassie's confronting him. So it's actually funny because Miles is like, oh, yo, I'm so sorry about the picture. And she's like, what the fuck? You drew it? And when at first she was just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe someone drew that about me. And he's just like, oh yeah, that was me. I was like, oh fuck. He didn't realize that she didn't know, and she didn't realize that he was the one who did it. So it was a very funny start of the relationship, of the conversation. But what I also thought was funny was that Cassie was upset that he drew that picture of her. And I'm like, why are you upset that he drew this picture? Man, you're the one who you shot the fire. You fired first. You fired those shots first. You literally threw him under the bus and side-eyed him in the conversation. Did you forget that part? Ma'am? Did you forget that part? Because it seems like you did. It seems like you did. But then this was also a moment where we did see Miles actually feel really bad. He does apologize to her and, talks about how he's like, oh, like, you kind of reminded me of my mom. I didn't really grow up with my mom. I grew up with my aunt and uncle. I don't know. It seems like he has a lot of deep-rooted issues there with parents, stuff that we as an audience don't really know, but kind of matches up with kind of this persona that he has kind of created. But in the end, she does forgive him, and they say that they're going to have each other's back in the group. And she tells him, like, hey, for me to forgive you, I need you basically to go into the chat and have my back and tell people, like, hey, I was the one who did that to Cassie and it was messed up. She is not a snake in the grass, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, sure. Whatever. And then we have Kyle and QT. And, at the end of this episode, I was very like, oh, here we go. QT is playing the game. And she's playing it very good because she pretty much kind of, she started shit between Kyle and Olivia by saying that she wasn't the one who, like, she goes to Kyle and is like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, oh my God, like, she plays it like, oh, I'm here for you. Like, I can't believe that Olivia would do that. And I was like, cutie, girl, you playing the game. I mean, you're playing the game. You're playing it good. You're playing it good. I can't say that you're not. She tells him about her alliance with with Miles, and they start the Tres Fuego alliance, and he falls for it. And thinks that she is being honest, and now he considers her like circle sister. And I'm like, oh boy, if you only knew it, she was the one who drew that picture of you. Awkward. Especially because she drew in her picture, like, in the picture she drew of him in the game was like hashtag boring or something about him being like super boring because he hasn't really said anything. I was like, oh God. Well, he's gonna see this eventually. It will air. It will air, indeed. Then we are on to episode 6, guys. We're almost there. I'm trying to get through this as quick as possible because I know this is a long episode. But episode 6, we go into our new people joining the circle. We have Autumn and Big J join. Autumn is basically, another Southern gal. She works on a ranch. She works out. Super, super sweet. She's in shape, I will say that. And then you have Big J, who's goes in as another version of himself. Basically, he lost over 200 pounds, but now he's saying, like, if I put a picture of me right now, people might think of me as a douchebag. But if I go with a picture of me of when I weighed like more, like over 200 pounds, then people will kind of look at this guy very differently. And I was like, okay, interesting. Now, Autumn, to me, feel bad for the girl. Real bad for the girl. Big J is kind of a little bit too much for me. I'm not a big fan of him right now because he literally gets in the house and the only thing he does right away is being like, everyone spill your tea. Show me your cards, please and thank you. Are you going to show me your cards? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. What's the tea? What's the tea? Sir, I don't know you. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your name? What the fuck? Annoyed. Then basically what happens when our two friends join is everybody gets to choose who they would like to talk to and send a message to them privately. And based on the message, Autumn and Big J get to choose who they would like to have their first conversation with. But Autumn picks Paul. Why? I have no idea. And basically, he just spills all of the tea. He's just like, Lauren's a backstabber. You can't trust Olivia. She's a snake. Blech. Just word vomit and says all this shit. And I'm like, why? Then you have Big J, who decides to talk to Miles. And Miles also kind of spills the tea. They have also kind of spills the tea, not too much, but does spill it. But we do find out that Big J starts to really look at Miles as his competition, and he's like, I need to get this man out of here. He needs to get the fuck out of here because he is my competition. He is the puppet master. He is who everyone trusts, and I cannot be having that if I want to win this game. But they all have a chat. They all spill the tea together. Olivia tells people not to judge people with their heart. And a lot of people are like, absolutely not. This is a fucking game. And I'm like, whoa. It is a game, but you should have heart. It's the only way you're going to meet people and actually get to know them on a different level. Just saying. Olivia decides to message Kyle. And Olivia decides to message Kyle because she kind of wants to be like, hey, let's just squash this shit. Like, this is kind of stupid kind of thing, right? They actually end up having a really, really nice conversation. Olivia, and him bond over the fact that they both have lost their fathers. And obviously with Brandon, it's like, it is a true story, but I hope Kyle in the end isn't like, oh, was that all a lie just to be in my good graces, that you actually have that feelings. I feel like they'll be fine, but it is nice, and I'm glad that they have that conversation because it is their way of kind of turning a new leaf and letting that shit slide, because it's like, you don't really know anybody in the end, right? And, even Kyle says, like, this is the most real conversation I've had, and honestly, it was the first real conversation we as an audience saw that was an actual real conversation that wasn't based on strategy and just kind of like fluff. It was actually like, let me get to know you as a person. And I think that's when I start to connect more with these people, and the more I actually want them to win as an audience member. That's just me. Then we have our rankings because everyone has ranked at this point. Again, I never really talk about the ranking points because it's kind of pointless. I just like to go into the rankings. But in our last place, we have Cassie and Olivia. And first and second, we have Kyle and QT as our influencers. And yeah, that means one of them is going to have to send somebody home. We have Paul again talking about how he thinks that Lauren is a fake, and I'm so confused. I'm literally like, when did this switch over? Like, when did they go from like, I like Lauren to like, she's a two-face, she's fake, and I'm like, this is weird. This is very weird, and I literally, again, I have no idea where it stems from. I'm pretty sure. Do you guys know? Because I'm like, did I miss something? Like, did I miss something? I don't know. It feels like I missed something. But obviously, Kyle and QT end up going to their little, the little room, or the influencer room, where they can chat with each other over social medias, I guess, and decide who they want to go with. It ends with a cliffhanger, of course, because why not, Circle? Why not? And then we go into our episode 7, and we do find out that Cassie is blocked, and she gets to go and meet someone, which is always my favorite part. And she decides to go and meet Olivia, who is a catfish and we know is Brandon. But it actually ends up being a really wonderful conversation, very sweet. They actually just talk, and Brandon's like, hey, I just want you to know, like, that was actually me talking. Like, I didn't make any of that up. Like, that generally is how I felt. That's generally me as a person. Yeah, they talk about their lives. It's super, super sweet. She drops some tea to Olivia and tells her that she cannot trust, that she should not trust QT and Miles because she was in an alliance with both of them and they betrayed her. I was like, oh, shit. Well, shit. Shit. And then in the next morning when she leaves the little message, Cassie does kind of call out QT and Miles in her goodbye. Not necessarily in a very like direct way, but she says the best way to win this game is to be yourself. But she's like the only regret I have is trusting the alliances I built, or trusting the people trusted the people I was in alliance with, or something like that. I think that's what she says. I'm pretty sure that's what she says. And I'm like, oh, like, fuck. Well, everyone's not thinking like, well, who was Cassie in an alliance with, right? Like, who was she in an alliance with? I don't know. Who was she? So they all chat. Everyone is shook and now looking sideways at Miles and QT. Yeah, Olivia says that Cassie visited her and told her about the people who she was in an alliance with. So she doesn't say names, but everyone is kind of starting to wonder, like, okay, well, that's shady. Like, I don't understand. Blah, 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 blah. Then we have Olivia and Lauren, who also built an alliance. And Lauren is super worried, though, because she thinks people don't like her at the moment. And it's sad because it is true. I do think that at this point, Lauren is really much kind of at the bottom here, which is very unfortunate because I did really like her. She started off as a top influencer, and now she's just kind of sliding through the cracks. And I think it's because she's not really building any connections with anyone, and she's being too nice with everyone, and I think that's why she's starting to look like maybe she is fake in that way. Now, something I always wanted to know about the circle and how the show works, especially as you as a player, is like, do they tell you like, now you can go and message this player, or can you message a player whenever you want? Like, if something happened, if you got into a fight with someone, like, why couldn't you just be like, I'm going to message Paul now and be like, hey, just so you know, like, I called you out because of X, Y, and Z. Or, like, why did you say that? Or whatever. It always happens, like, really sporadically. So I wonder if it's very producer-driven as to, like, you can't just message someone whenever you want. It's pretty much like you get 3 chats a day and we'll tell you when you can do it. Is that how it works? I don't know. I wish I knew. If anybody else does know this, please comment it down below for me because I'm very intrigued on that. Big J and Kyle talk. And again, he's just trying to find out information from Kyle. Instead of trying to build a relationship with him, he's just like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed and I miss home. So like, tell me what's happening. I'm like, sir, do I know you? I'm sorry, what? Do I know you? I don't think so. I don't think I know you, not even a little bit. So why the hell would I tell you anything? But then we play a game where they answer questions and the most compatible people. Okay, so they play a game where they basically get to answer questions. And then it's revealed that the people who are the most compatible have to stick together as ride or dies. So they get matched based on the answers to somebody else. And boy, oh boy, does it get even crazier as it goes. And I will get into it. We have people who are together who literally have no idea why they are and are not happy to be together. Again, people are going after Lauren. Again, I have no idea why. No idea why she's become a target. No idea. Miles and Olivia are matched and they fucking hate each other. And at this point, I do think that like some of this stuff was a little bit producer driven or producer picked, because the fact that Olivia and Miles came up as the most compatible, I don't believe that for a second. Then you have Kyle and Paul. It's like, yeah, obviously you're going to put the 2 best friends for a reason because you know that's going to cause some shit to go down. You put QT with, what's his name? QT with Big J, who we know Big J is trying to get rid of Miles, but then they know that QT is Miles' first person and Miles will not let go of QT either. So they're like alliance up till the end. So the fact that you stick her with the person who's trying to get rid of Miles, producer, this is all producer driven. You can absolutely tell. I highly doubt that was actually like, you know, percentage wise, who voted the same? No, I don't believe that for second production. Not even for second production. I don't believe you. You know, even though Miles and Olivia are not in the happiest of graces because they have to match together, they do align with each other and decide that they will stick together for strategy purposes to stay here as long as possible. And they decide that the person they will vote each other first in the ratings, and they will rate the same person last. And they decide to go with Autumn. And I'm like, but why Autumn? Like, what did Autumn do to you? But I'm like, okay, well, I guess if you have alliances and Autumn is new, the person you're going to want to get rid of, I guess, is Autumn. I felt really bad. In the end here, after they've done, their ratings and everything like that, or after they've been told, like, you have a ride to die, then the circle decides to reveal that this is not it. Circle reveals to them that their ride or die is basically tied to their fate. So if your ride or die gets blocked, you get blocked. And I'm like, my mouth dropped. I was like, oh, stop it, circle. That was good. That was good. I will take it. Wow, what a twist. What a twist of events to have the person that is your ride or die, who you might not even like. Your fate is tied to that other person. So if they get blocked, you get blocked. Wow. Absolute perfection of a twist. Perfection. And I will say every season they come up with really good twists. Every season. It's never the same. It's never the same. I have to say the season so far has been very interesting at this point they've only let go of 2 people. Well, I guess 3 if you count Max, but only 3 people have gone home, and it's been hasn't been very normal in the way of it being like how it normally is, where it's like 2 influencers go and block someone. Like this season has been very different in that case. So really looking forward to seeing how this all plans out. But we've made it, guys, to episode 8. I've been talking for almost an hour. I can't believe it. I am so tired, but we are here, and I'm here for you guys. I love you. I appreciate you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button so you'll know the next time I post my next episodes 9 through to 11 maybe. I'm not sure how many episodes, but whatever the next recap is. So thank you for bearing with me if you're still here. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. My throat hurts from talking so much, but let's just finish it up. We're almost there. So episode 8 starts out with obviously everyone being very worried about this new twist. They're like, oh my God, this changes everything. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Blah, 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 blah. We have Olivia and Jordan talk, and Jordan wants to get rid of Miles, not knowing that they are tied together. Jordan is Big J, by the way. Totally wrote just Jordan, and for a second I was like, who the fuck is Jordan? I'm like, oh, Big J. So yeah, at this point, Jordan messages Olivia because he thinks, oh, if I message Olivia, who doesn't like Miles, I can get her to vote for him. So he pretty much just like kind of starts to like find out how Olivia feels about Miles, but Olivia has to be like, no, we can't send him home. So he tries to kind of see if he can manipulate her by saying that Miles flirted with him, and Olivia's like, wait, what? Is he bisexual? I mean, none of this happened. It's all lies. It's just to manipulate her. I don't think she falls for it, obviously, because she knows that she is in an alliance with Miles and she will stick to her word, which she does. Then we have Miles and QT. He sends her breakfast, and I'm like, okay, this is a real circle relationship here for real. I mean, I hope they make it to the end together so they can see each other, and they'll be very happy when they find out that they're actually real people. That's always going to be nice. Oh, and then this is another time, I think this is the second time, other than that Kyle and Olivia conversation, that Miles and QT actually have a real conversation. They talk more about who they are outside of here. They connect more, and they actually just talk. And I was like, fucking finally. Like, you guys have been flirting up the storm, and you don't even know much about each other. So I really liked the idea that they were finally able to just talk about who they are. Aside from this game, outside of the circle, who are you as a person? Talk to me. Tell me. Then we have Autumn and Kyle talk. They bond on working out, but she's just very unsure on who to trust. And she tries to build an alliance with him. And she tells him, hey, he tells her that she should trust Paul and Miles, even though at this point she's still not she doesn't know, or she doesn't feel very sure about it. Again, Autumn, anybody who comes in like real late, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to really like catch up, because people have already built relationships with people. People have already built relationships with people. Like when you come in so late, it's a little bit harder to kind of get in because you're trying to catch up. You're trying to figure out like, okay, who can I trust? Who's been here? Who knows something that they're going to tell me? And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go forward, or if you should just go in as like, hey, they've been here forever, but I'm going to come in as me now and get to know people and figure out who I can trust on my own. And then if I feel like I'm not getting something, then I can go and ask for some reinforcements. But I think it's not working for Big J or for Jordan, that he's just plain out asking people, give me the tea, give me the tea, give me the tea. Like, that's not really helping you in the end. I agree. Then then the circle decides to play a circle scenarios game, where basically they'll ask each player a scenario of most likely and least likely to do X, Y, and Z. So, for example, who's most likely to ghost you after a date and who's least likely. And that is going to show how you really think about people, because now everyone in the circle will know what you have answered. And at this point, everyone decides to come for Autumn. Again, did I miss something? Is it just because she's the newest? Like, I don't understand where this is coming from. But everyone comes for Autumn. And she is in very rough shape. I felt really, really bad for her. Poor Olivia / Brandon feels terrible. And then Lauren also feels bad because, technically speaking, she kind of started the hate train because she gets asked the question, who do you think is most likely and least likely to buy likes? And I was like, oh, fuck. And she decides to do most likely Autumn, so that way she'll throw them off her scent, thinking that they are, partnered. Wasn't the right choice, because she literally could have picked anyone, but she chose her partner. And if you do most likely is usually bad, not the least likely. And then everyone after that pretty much starts putting her as like, who's likely to be a catfish? Autumn. Who's likely to ghost you or something? They put Autumn. And I'm like, oh my God. So she's in rough shape. And Olivia decides to message Autumn. And I have to say, this conversation was very interesting, because you have Olivia, who literally has fired shots at Autumn. But then she goes in the chat and says, hey, I'm so sorry that I did that. And Autumn's like, bitch, you just showed me your true colors. I am not trusting you. And I was like, ooh.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I was like, okay, all right, Autumn, I like you. She was like not happy. She was like, absolutely not. Like, don't come in here and apologize to me after what you just did. And then this is where I think like, I thought it was like not a very smart idea on Olivia's part. How do I say it? She goes to Autumn and says, hey, I'm so sorry. I've been bullied before and I understand how you must feel. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, we're trying to connect on this, which is great. But then even Autumn says it. Autumn's just like, okay, well, if you've been bullied before, then why would you go and do that to me? And I'm like, ooh, that's true. That is true. And it's like, why would you do that and be like, I'm so sorry, I don't want to backstab you again, and then you go and backstab her again when you rate her the lowest, because you and Miles said that you were going to rate her the lowest in order for you to stay in the game. If she has to pick a side, like if she's going to be brutal, she has to stay brutal. She can't be brutal and then be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been bullied before and I know what you did and I never want to do that to you again, but then you still kind of backstab her again. It's like you might as well have just not said anything and just let her feel how she felt. It is a game, and it's very hard for you to be on the show if you take things very personally, because it's so hard to not take anything personally. If someone's telling you that you're the most likely to want to buy lice, you're the most likely to be a catfish, like you're like, damn, like, why wouldn't you? Obviously, it's going to hurt you. It's social media. Social media is a fucking beast, right? We go on social media every day, and if someone comments on your thing, someone who you literally have no idea who they are, what they look like, if they're even a real person, saying like all the shit, obviously you're going to feel bad about it, even though you don't know the person. Like, it's just social media. It's hard to not have emotions attached to it. But I think where Olivia went wrong was like, she was like trying to be like, hey, how are you, sweetie? Like, I didn't mean to backstab you, but I'm going to continue to backstab you. It's like, ooh, might not have been the best call. And then Autumn tries to say like, hey, like, should we build an alliance? But Olivia obviously can't, so she kind of avoids the subject and kind of then leaves the chat. And I'm like, all right, well, she just said, she's like, I'm not building an alliance with you. It was very clear. Very, very clear. So, not good. Not good. I mean, Brandon does feel bad. He's literally like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, I hate that I have to do this, but I have to show my loyalty to Miles because we said we would. I'm like, fuck. Well, fuck. Then we have Paul talk to Lauren. And this is another moment where I was just like, I hate when people are being fucking fake. Paul's just like, buttering up Lauren, being like, oh, I got your back, whatever. And he's just like, oh no, I'm just doing this because I want her to rate me high so I can be in the bottom. And I'm like, so then I can put her in the bottom. I'm like, wow. Emotionless. Caress/Paul. Emotionless. Like, that means they must be really playing the game. Like, he plays the game very well, but I'm like, fuck. Damn it. Then we have the ratings. We have people, rating everyone. And at first, I was like, damn, okay. It's not looking good for Lauren and Autumn. They're probably going home. Or Autumn's going home or whatever. Like, obviously, this is where this is going. Well, no. The circle decides to be like, no, Lauren and Autumn are safe. So what they do is they message everyone privately on their screen saying you are safe. So if you get that, you're safe and you're not going home. And Lauren and Autumn both get you are safe. I'm like, no way. No, I'm not buying it. This must have been producer. No, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Because you guys want to know who's in the bottom? You want to know who's in the bottom? Kyle and Paul. What the fuck? Kyle and Paul? Left field. To me, it came out of left field. I was like, wait, what? What? Oh, God. And it says, like, if you are, I think the message says, like, if you're saying this message, that means either you or your ride or die has been rated the lowest player. And I was like, shit. I mean, that's what Kyle was worried for at first, was that Kyle was going to have to be with Paul, who is almost like is one of the least liked people there, right? I wouldn't assume Paul was the one that was put at the bottom. I'm going to assume, but I'm not sure. But the circle reveals, though, gives them options. The circle says, if one of you sacrifices yourself for somebody else, that person will stay. Your ride or die will stay. But if you both decide to sacrifice, or you both decide to go, you will both be not, like, if there's two buttons, one says stay and one says sacrifice. So each person has to say, am I going to sacrifice myself or I want to stay? If both players say stay, they get booted. If they both say sacrifice, they both get booted. It has to be that one of them sacrifices and the other person says, one person says sacrifice and the other person says stay. I think it's basically each of them has to say that. It has to be that combination. If it is not that combination, that's it. And you have Kyle and Paul both being very sturdy on they're like, no, I'm not leaving. Kyle, and this is hilarious, Kyle is literally like, I have a family to feed. I can't leave. Like, I have to stay. I need this money, blah, blah, blah. And then you have Paul on the other end being like, absolutely not. I have to win this game. Like, Caress has no emotions tied to these people whatsoever. I mean, she's all gung-ho about Kyle being like, ooh, yes, his abs. Ooh, yes, we're a team. Ooh, yes, let's do ride or dies with each other. Oh, no, but I will sacrifice you if I have to. I want to win this game. No emotion whatsoever. No emotion. And Kyle's like, no, man, like, please, Paul, please, like, please, I hope you just know why I need this. And it's just two opposite people playing the game. Now, of course, that is where we are left with a lovely cliffhanger. Thank you, The Circle. We will be back on Wednesday, May 1st for the last couple of episodes. I mean, I actually don't really know if how many. I think it's going to be like probably 3. It was 8. It's probably like 3 episodes, and then they're gonna have like the finale like the week after. That's gonna be my assumption. Which of course, like I mentioned before, I won't be here, so it might be a bit of a delay to get that finale recap if I end up doing one, really, because it'll be so late, but we'll see. Especially if this video does very well and you guys really want to see more, then yes, I will of course continue to do the rest of the recaps, but we will see. But yeah, I really think that they're both just gonna go home. I mean, they showed a preview for the next episodes. Now of course they didn't show Paul or Kyle there because they obviously don't want us to know if they get sent home or anything. I have a feeling they're both going to be sent home. I would be okay with it. I would prefer Kyle over Paul because I can't stand Paul, but I'm also going to be okay because I don't think either of them is going to win. At this point, I don't think. I think it's going to be QT or Miles that wins, unfortunately, unless something really changes. I really would love for Brandon to win, maybe, but right now the players right now really seem to be QT and Miles for the win. So we shall see. But anyway, guys, if you liked this recap, please give me a thumbs up. Comment down below what you've thought so far about the season. Who do you think is going to win the circle? And of course, click subscribe so you'll see the next time I do post that video. And of course, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.